So we have Q1, week 7, and today is Wednesday. Number 1, you are reading from the chart. It says the table shows that the depth of a submarine over a 2-hour period did the sub go up or down by how much? Well, if you look here, I added, if it's a depth and it's a submarine, it's already going to be below sea level, right? So they have to start with negatives, okay? Now, if I'm looking at negatives, if I'm going from a negative 410 to a negative 289, I'm getting closer to 0. So that's a positive move. When you're subtracting, you start with the latest time. So I'm going to start with a negative 289, and I'm finding the difference, so it's minus a negative 410. That is how you should set up problem number 1. Then I use my rules of adding and subtracting integers. I keep a negative 289. I change the subtraction to addition. I change my negative to a positive. Now I have a negative number and a positive number, so I'm going to subtract 410 minus 289. Borrow. 10 minus 9 is 1. I cannot take 0 minus 8, so the 4 becomes a 3. This becomes a 10. 10 minus 8 is 2, and 3 minus 1 is 1. I'm going to take the sign of the bigger number, so it's a positive 121. Number 2, you're dividing a negative 53 and 72 hundredths by a negative 6. If I'm dividing a negative times a negative, what's my answer going to end up being?
Positive.
Excellent. So can 6 go into 5? Nope, but it goes into 53 how many times?
8.
8. 8 times 6 is
48.
48. I'm going to subtract. 5 becomes a 4, the 3 becomes a 13. 13 minus 8 is 5. Don't skip your decimal. Bring it up, then bring down your 7. 6 goes into 57. 9 times. 9 times 6 is
54.
3 left. Bring down the 2. 6 goes into 32. 5 times. 5 times 6 is 30. 2 left. Add a 0. Bring the 0 down. 6 goes into 20.
3 times.
3 times 6 is
18.
18. 2 left. Add a 0. What's happening? Okay. So if it's going to keep repeating, I'm repeating the 3. So I just put the bar notation above the 3. So 8 and 953 thousandths, repeating the thousandths place is your answer. How many of you got it right?
I didn't have
Excellent. Make sure the negative time divided by a negative is a positive. Number 3. I said that you could skip number 3, but I'm going to go over it quickly. When we're talking surface area, pretend this is a cube, even though it's a rectangular prism. The surface area is all of the sides, the area of the front, the side, the back, this other side, and the top and the bottom, right? The area of each of those added up. But because it's a cube, they're all going to be the same, right?
Yeah.
So we can write a formula for this. So SA is going to stand for surface area equals the length times the width times 6. So the length and the width is 6.5, because that's what they tell us it's going to be. So I take 6.5 times 6.5 times 6. To multiply mixed numbers, you make it an improper fraction. So 13 over 2 times 13 over 2. I'm going to do what's inside parentheses first. And then 13 times 13 is 169. And 2 times 2 is 4. So then I have 169 divided by 4, which would be 42.2 you can say it's 42 and 1/4. But now I need to take that 42 and 1/4 or 42 and 25/100 and multiply it by my 6. And when I do my multiplication, 6 times 5 is 30, 6 times 2 is 12, 12 plus 3 is, carry the 1, leave the 5, 6 times 2 is,
12,
plus 1 makes
13,
13, and then 6 times 4 is,
24,
plus 1 makes the,
25.
count your decimal places, 1, 2, 1, 2. So you'd say your final answer is 253 and 50/100ths or 5/10, or then I could rewrite it with a mixed
Correct.
number. Number
I
4,
thought we were supposed to do that one. I got it right.
good.
I didn't.
X divided by 4 minus 16 equals a negative 32. If I'm seeing X on one side, numbers on the other, I can start by just drawing my line. Now I need to start boxing some things up. That's right, box the X divided by 4. Stop, do not move. So who's going to move? 16. That's a minus 16, so now how do I move it?
Add 16.
Add 16. Add 16. One's negative, one's positive. Subtract. So 32 minus 16 is
16,
16. So now I have X divided by 4 equals 16. Box your X up. He's still not moving. But how do I get the divided by 4 out?
multiply it.
Multiply it by 4, because they cancel each other out. Oh, I didn't show that canceled, sorry. So then I multiply by 4. So I have X equals, well, 16 times 4 is
64.
64, but I did something wrong here. What did I forget?
Negative.
Right, I forgot that negative, to bring down the negative, and a negative times a positive is a negative. Good. That's definite progress, so we'll take it. Write 2 expressions that have a greatest common factor of 8xy. All it's saying is finding some numbers that will have that as the greatest common factor. So I can say it 8xy and 16xy. I can say 8xy and 24xy. I can say 16xy and 24xy. There's a whole bunch of combinations that you could do. So just have one of those. 6.
Can you pull it up a little bit, please?
Sure can. A Girl Scout has the quantity 5x minus 12 boxes of cookies, and she sells, so that means I'm getting rid of the quantity 3x plus 18. Okay? So now I have to figure this out. I have to solve this problem. The first thing that I like to do, I'm going to show you 2 ways to solve the problem. I'm going to show you the way that I do it in order to not make a mistake with my negatives and my positives. When I do that, if I am subtracting, these are called 2 quantities. If I'm subtracting 2 quantities, then I'm going to use a distributive property on this. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy down the 5x minus 12 because I didn't have to use a distributive property for that at all. Then a negative times a positive makes this 3 a
Negative.
negative. So it's a negative 3x. Then a negative times this positive makes it a negative 18. And that's all I had to do so far. I'm distributing that subtraction sign. Now I look at, and I combine. When I say I combine, that means I am adding. And I'm going to combine or add my like terms. I have a 5x and a negative 3x.
2.
So that would be, what's 5 minus 3?
2.
So I have 2x. Then I have a negative 12, that's, don't forget there's a negative, and a negative 18. I'm combining them,
So you're at
so I'm adding, so what's 18 plus 12?
30.
So it's a minus 30, or I could have written it as 2x plus a negative
30.
30. Either way would be fine. Another way, now you don't have to write down both, you just have to have one written down. Quantity 5x minus 12 minus quantity 3x plus 18. To do it like this, I'm taking 5x minus 3x. So I'd write 5x minus 3x. Well, 5 minus 3 is just 2x. Then I would take negative 12 minus positive 18. So I'd write it as negative 12 minus 18. When I show it like that, I have to show my rules. Keep the negative, change the subtraction to positive, change the positive to a negative, and then it's showing I'm adding a 12 plus 18, which would be a negative 30. Or again, I could write it 2x plus negative 30. I like distributing this first, because if I do it that way, sometimes I just forget about the subtraction sign or the negative sign. Remember, you're going to have to intercombine negative and your subtraction sign. Number 7. 12x minus 14 equals 16x. Draw my line because I have things on both sides. But what's wrong with the picture here?
There's X on both sides.
There's X on both sides. If there's no numbers over here, just bring this X across that magical line. If this is a positive 12x, what do I have to do to take it across that line?
change.
Subtract.
Subtract it,
Oh.
change it to negative.
Yeah.
Same thing. Subtract 12x. Subtract 12x. They cancel each other out, so I'm left with, now don't forget, bring down that negative 14. Equals, what's 12, or 16 minus 12?
4X.
4x. Now we're back to knowing how we can start this. I want to keep x there by itself.
Yep.
So this is like 4 times x, so how do I get x by itself?
Divide by 4.
Divide by 4. They cancel each other out, divide this side by 4. So now I have a negative 14 divided by 4.
3.
Negative 14 divided by 4. 4 goes into 14 3 times. 2 left, so it's 3 2/4. But I have to reduce that 2/4 to 1/2. And that's a negative divided by a positive, so the answer is
Negative.
negative. So x equals a negative 3.5. Number 8, we are going to skip right now. I do not want to have you guys go absolutely crazy on me.
Let's go.
Because I'd write it down, you'd copy it, and you would be so confused, your heads would be spinning.
You're right.
But we'll get to that point to get to number 8, so that's okay.
I think so too.